Hi, cutie. Today, I'm gonna read chapter 4 of Coraline. See, my bookmark's really small, so it doesn't really matter. If I have it, I can't just flip to it, but that's okay. All right, so today we're reading chapter 4. Here's the chapter 4 art. The little guy's going to see the little show. If you remember the movie. All right, sorry. I'm fucking throat's itchy right now, and I don't know why. Probably from all the D&D talk. Chapter 4. The house looked exactly the same from the outside, or almost exactly the same. Around Miss Spink and Miss Forceful's door were blue and red light bulbs that flashed on the top of the flashed on and off, spelling out words, the lights chasing each other around the door, on and off, around and around. Astounding was followed by theatrical and then triumph. It was a sunny, cold day, exactly like the other ones she'd left. There was a polite noise from behind her. She turned around. Standing on the wall next to her was a large black cat, identical to the large black cat she had seen in the grounds at home. "Good afternoon," said the cat. Its voice sounded like the voice of the... Its voice sounded like the voice at the back of Coraline's head, the voice she thought words in, but a man's voice, not a girl's. "Hello," said Coraline. "I saw a cat like you in the garden at home. You must be the other cat." The cat shook its head. "No," it said. "I'm not the other anything. I'm me." Sorry. It tipped its head to one side. Green eyes glistened. "You people are spread all over the place. Cats, on the other hand, keep ourselves together. If you see what I mean. I suppose. But if you're the same cat I saw at home, how can you talk?" Cats don't have shoulders, not like people do. But the cat shrugged in one smooth movement that started at the tip of its tail and Cully, don't rub on the book. I can't read if you're shaking it. Started on the tip of its tail and ended in a raised movement of its whiskers. "I can talk." "Cats don't talk at home." "No?" said the cat. "No," said Coraline. The cat Oh, Cully, don't fall off the bed again. She always gets zoomies when I'm trying to read. Even Faust is big sleeping right now, but she's got zoomies. Tisk tisk, hon. The cat leaped smoothly from the wall to the grass near Coraline's feet. It stared up at her. Well, you're the expert on these things," said the cat dryly. "After all, what would I know? I'm only a cat." Began to walk away, head and tail held high and proud. "Come back," said Coraline. "Please, I'm sorry. I really am." Cat stopped walking, sat down, and began to wash itself thoroughly, apparently unaware of Coraline's existence. We could be friends, you know," said Coraline. "We could be rare specimens of an exotic breed of African dancing elephants," said the cat. "We are not, at least." It added cattily. After darting a brief look at Coraline. "I'm not," Coraline sighed. "Please, what's your name?" Coraline asked the cat. "Look, I'm Coraline, okay?" Cat yawned slowly, carefully revealing a mouth and tongue of astounding pinkness. "Cats don't have names," it said. "No?" said Coraline. "No," said the cat. "Now you people have names. That is because you don't know who you are. We know who we are, so we don't need names." There was something irritatingly self-centered about the cat, Coraline decided, as if it were, in its opinion, the only thing in any world or place that could possibly be of any importance. Half of her wanted to be very rude to it. The other half of her wanted to be polite and deferential. The polite half won. "Please, what is this place?" The cat glanced around briefly. "It's here," said the cat. "I can see that. Well, how do you get here?" "Like you did." "I walked," said the cat. "Like this." Coraline watched the cat walk slowly across the lawn. It walked behind a tree, but didn't come out of the other side. Coraline went over to the tree and looked behind it. The cat was gone. She walked back towards the house. There was another polite noise from behind her. It was the cat. "By the by," it said, "it was sensible of you to bring protection. I'd hang on to it if I were you." "Protection?" "That's what I said the cat. "And anyway," it paused and stared intently at something that wasn't there. Then it went down into a low crouch and moved slowly forward, 2 or 3 steps. It seemed to be stalking an invisible mouse. Abruptly, it Abruptly, it turned tail and dashed for the woods, vanished among the trees. Coraline wondered what the cat had meant. She also wondered whether cats could talk where she came from and just chose not to, or whether they could only talk when they were here, wherever here was. She walked down the brick steps to Miss Spink and Miss Forcible's door. The blue and red lights flashed on and off. The door was open, just slightly. She knocked on it, but her first knock made the door swing open, and Coraline went in. Hard to talk after talking for hours. She was in a dark room that smelled of dust and velvet. The door swung shut behind her, and the room was black. Coraline edged forward into a small anteroom, Annette room. Her face brushed against something soft. It was cloth. She reached up her hand and pushed at the cloth. It parted. She stood blinking on the other side of the velvet curtains. It was a poorly lit theater. Far away, at the edge of the room, was a wooden stage, empty and bare, a dim spotlight shining onto it from high above. There were seats between Coraline and the stage, rows and rows of seats. She heard a shuffling noise, and a light came towards her, swinging from side to side. When it was closer, she saw the light was coming from a flashlight being carried in the mouth of a large black Scotty dog, its muzzle gray with age. "Hello," said Coraline. The dog put the flashlight down on the floor and looked up at her. "Right, let's see your ticket," he said gruffly. "Ticket?" "That's what I said. Ticket. I haven't got all day, you know. You can't watch the show without a ticket." Coraline sighed. "I don't have a ticket," she admitted. "Another one," the dog said gloomily. "Come in here. Come in here, bold as... What? Hang on. Come in here, bold as anything. Where's your ticket? Haven't got one. I don't know." It shook its head, then shrugged. "Come on, then." He picked up the flashlight in his mouth and trotted off into the dark. Coraline followed him. When he got near the front of the stage, he stopped and shone the flashlight onto an empty seat. Coraline sat down and the dog wandered off. As her eyes got used to the darkness, she realized that the other inhabitants of the seat were also dogs. There was a sudden hissing noise from behind the stage. Coraline decided it was the sound of a scratchy old record being put onto a record player. The hissing became the noise of trumpets, and Miss Spink and Miss Forcible came on stage. Miss Spink was riding a one-wheeled bicycle and juggling balls. Miss Forcible skipped behind her, holding a basket of flowers. She scattered the flower petals across the stage as she went. They reached the front of the stage, and Miss Spink leaped nimbly off the unicycle, and the 2 old women bowed low. All the dogs thumped their tails and barked enthusiastically. Coraline clapped politely. Then they unbuttoned their fluffy round coats and opened them, but their coats weren't all that opened. Their faces opened too. Like empty shells out of an old, empty, fluffy, round body stepped 2 young women. They were thin and pale and quite pretty, and had black button eyes. The new Miss Spink was wearing green tights, high brown boots that went most of the way up her legs. The new Miss Forcible wore a white dress that had flowers in her long yellow hair. I'm really good at reading, if you hadn't picked up on it yet. Coraline pressed back against her seat. Miss Spink went off the stage, and the noise of trumpets squealed as the gramophone needle dug in its way across the record and was pulled off. "This is my favorite bit," whispered the little dog in the seat next to her. The other Miss Forcible picked up a knife out of a box on the corner of the stage. Ugh. Oh my goodness. Bubbles and coughs make it so hard to read. Is this a dagger that I see before me? She asked. Yes, shouted all the little dogs. It is! Miss Forceful curtsied, and all the dogs applauded again. Coraline didn't bother clapping this time. Miss Spink came back on. She slapped her thigh, and all the little dogs woofed. And now, Miss Spink said, Miriam, I proudly present a new and exciting addendum to our theatrical expedition. Do I see a volunteer? The little dog next to Coraline nudged her with its front paw. That's you, it hissed. Coraline stood up and walked up to the wooden steps on the stage. Can I have a big round of applause for the young volunteer? Asked Miss Spinks. The dogs woofed and squealed and thumped their tails on their velvet seats. Now, Coraline, said Miss Spink, what's your name? Coraline, said Coraline. And we don't know each other, do we? Coraline looked at the thin young woman with black button eyes and shook her head slowly. Now, said the other Miss Spink, stand over here. She led Coraline over to a board by the side of the stage and put a balloon on top of Coraline's head. Miss Spink walked over to Miss Forcible. She blindfolded Miss Forcible's button eyes and with a black scarf and put the knife into her hands. Then she turned her around 3 or 4 times and pointed her at Coraline. Coraline held her breath and squeezed her fingers into tight fists. Miss Forcible threw the knife at the balloon. It popped loudly, and the knife stuck into the board just above Coraline's head and twanged there. Coraline breathed out. The dogs went wild. Miss Spink gave Coraline a very small box of chocolates and thanked her for being such a good sport. Coraline went back to her seat. You were very good, said the little dog. Thank you, said Coraline. Miss Forceful and Miss Spink began juggling with huge wooden clubs. Coraline opened the box of chocolates. The dog looked at them longingly. Would you like one? She asked the little dog. Yes, please, whispered the dog. Only not the toffee ones. They make me drool. I thought chocolates weren't very good for dogs, she said, remembering something Miss Forcible had once told her. Maybe where you come from, whispered the little dog. Here it's all we eat. Coraline couldn't see what the chocolates were in the dark. She took an experimental bite of one which turned out to be a coconut. Coraline didn't like coconut. She gave it to the dog. Thank you, said the dog. You're welcome, said Coraline. Miss Forceful and Miss Spink were doing some acting. Miss Forceful was sitting on a stepladder and Miss Spink was standing at the bottom. What's its name? Asked Miss Forceful. That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. You've got any more chocolates? Said the dog. Coraline gave the dog another chocolate. I know not to tell thee who I am, said Miss Spink and Miss Forceful. This bit finishes soon, whispered the dog. Then they start folk dancing. How long does this go for? Asked Coraline. The theater. All the time, said the dog. Forever and always. Here, said Coraline. Keep the chocolates. Thank you, said the dog. Coraline stood up. See you soon. See you soon, said the dog. Bye, said Coraline. She walked out of the theater and back into the garden. She had to blink her eyes at the daylight. Her other parents were waiting for her in the garden, standing side by side. They were smiling. "Did you have a nice time?" asked her other mother. "It was interesting," said Coraline. 3 of them walked back to Coraline's other house together. Coraline's other mother stroked Coraline's hair with her long white fingers. Coraline shook her head. "Don't do that," said Coraline. Her other mother took her hand away. "So," said her other father, "do you like it here?" "I suppose," said Coraline. "It's much more interesting than home." They went inside. "I'm glad you like it," said Coraline's other mother, "because we'd like to think that this is your home. You can stay here forever and always if you want to." Said Coraline. She put her hand in her pockets and thought about it. Her hand touched the stone that the real Miss Spink and Forcible had given to her that day before, the stone with a hole in it. "If you want to stay," said her other father, "there's only one little thing we'll have to do, so you can stay here forever and always." They went into the kitchen. On a china plate, on a silver kitchen table, was a spool of black cotton, long silver needle, and beside them were 2 large black buttons. "I don't think so," said Coraline. "Oh, but we want you to," said her other mother. We want you to stay, and it's just a little thing. It won't hurt, said her other father. Coraline knew that when grown-ups told her something wouldn't hurt, it almost always did. She shook her head. Her other mother smiled brightly, and the hair on her head drifted like plants under the sea. We only want what's best for you, she said. She put her hand on Coraline's shoulder. Coraline backed away. I'm going now, said Coraline. She put her hands in her pockets, her fingers crossed around the stone with the hole in it. Her other mother's hand scuttled off Coraline's shoulder like a frightened spider. If that's what you want, she said. Yes, said Coraline. We'll see you soon, though, said her other father. When you come back. Said Coraline, and then we'll all be together as one big happy family, said her other mother. Forever and always. Coraline backed away. She turned and hurried into the drawing room, pulled open the door in the corner. There was no brick wall there now, just darkness, a night-black underground darkness that seemed as if things in it might be moving. Coraline hesitated. She turned back. The other mother and her other father were walking towards her, holding hands. They were looking at her with those big black button eyes, or at least she thought they were looking at her. She couldn't be sure. Her other mother reached out her free hand and beckoned gently with one finger. Her pale lips mouthed, "Come back soon," although she said nothing aloud. Coraline took a deep breath and stepped into the darkness, where the strange voices whispered and distant winds howled. She became... No jumping up there, Cully. She became certain that there was something in the dark behind her, something very old and very slow. Cully, if you jump up there, I will smite you down. All right. Very old and slow. Her heartbeat was so hard and so loudly, she was scared it would burst out of her chest. She closed her eyes against the dark. Eventually, she bumped into something and opened her eyes, startled. She bumped into the armchair in her drawing room. The doorway behind her was blocked by rough red bricks. She was home. And that's the end of chapter 4. Which is when it starts to get spicy. You'll start to notice that unlike the movie, the book Coraline is never into this shit. Like, if you notice, like, movie Coraline is like, ooh, okay, Cully, be careful. She's like, I'm feeling it. I like the vibes. And then they're like buttons, and she's like, I changed my mind. But this Coraline, she's just, from the moment she gets there, she's like, I don't like this. I don't like that. It's gonna get really good. This is one of my favorite books. It may be like a fucking ages 8 and up reading level, but look, man, I've got an ages 8 and up reading comprehension. It's also one of the longer chapters. There's a few chapters in this book that are super long and very epic. But tomorrow we'll read chapter 5. It's late and I should sleep. You should sleep soon too. Probably. If you're listening to this before bed, then you should definitely sleep. But we'll read chapter 5 tomorrow, and you'll see how poggies it is. Well, it's not poggies. It's not going to be very poggies when people go missing. But it's poggies. Alright, that was chapter. I'm so tired. Good night, cutie. I'll see you tomorrow when I read the next chapter. Wow.